Hey, how you guys doing? Okay, we're gonna go over a game between Gatakomsky versus Hu Wang. One sec, let me get a drink of water. We'll get started. Okay, do it to it. D4. I have 6. I have 3. D5. Bishop F4. C5. E3. Knight C3. Knight BD2. C takes D. E takes D. Queen B, and then Knight B3. This is a kind of a London system setup because remember what we talked about when you play this, you got to be careful that you don't fall like this right here. This could have been played, but what could have originated is potentially, let me see, what could if who would have played. I mean, if Ghana would have played there, who could have played here? And then trapped, basically someone almost trapped the queen. It would be a little bit difficult, but I think that the queen might have gotten a little too close into the heart of the position, so I think that's why Hu took on C5 and did all that. Bishop F5. Now everything is cemented. Hu has a lot more development. 3 pieces compared to Gada's 2. So, I mean 3. 4 to 3. 4 to 3, that's what I mean. And 1 second. Hold on. I just gotta check one thing out, guys. So I'll be right there in 1 second. H3, H6, Bishop E2, and Knight E7. I mean Bishop E7. What's gonna happen is Hu will actually castle, so will Gada, and now they're safe, and it's gonna come down to who can outmaneuver who, because there's just Who's got one more development than Gada has, because the queen's back on D8, D1, and Who's reached a more middle game by 1 move. So knight E5, knight E5, knight takes E5, bishop takes E5, because we don't want to take with the pawn. we don't have enough positioning right now, and there's no reason to open an attack onto the king. We also have a better pawn formation. We don't want to also as well open up. We have one pawn in the center. If we took here, it would, yes, it would be still closed, but this queen would have a pretty good access. Like I'll show you. If we actually took here, yes, the knight would have to retreat, but now this queen has a pin on our f2 pawn, and we don't want that. So knight fc2. This is the reason rook fc2, not fc2, fc8 is this. fc8 allows for the potentially, if this ever opens up, who is actually taking over the half open file, and that's why that's played in. If who wants to, she can actually play rook c6, but there's really no in routes. This is just a flexible move, because sometimes what will happen is the bishop will reroute to f7 or f8. If too much pressure comes under the fire on the king, you can potentially reroute a knight into f8 via h7 to f8, or you can route a bishop to f8, and that holds the g7 pawn. It's more of a defensive mechanism, because sometimes what you can do is fianchetto the bishop again, put it in that way. It's kind of like it's a cool little little idea of sometimes retreating to get to a better square. a6, a5. Knight, queen d8, and this now everything's developed, but black has more of a it's interesting, more of a cramp position. It's kind of funny. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, this pawn right here on a5 really cramps black's style, because black wants to play on the queen side. Black would love to play b5, and then a5, and potentially try to hack at the c3 pawn. But now that got cramped the queen side with a5, this pawn really makes Hu's position very not very fun to play, because it's going to be really hard to get this pawn right here gone. So not a fun thing, and this knight can move. You never want to be in a cramped position. You don't really have a lot of squares to go to. Like this bishop could go to d5, but we'd be more than happy to trade off our bad bishop for his good bishop. This is an active bishop. This is an active bishop, so I'd probably favor white here slightly, very, very slightly, maybe a 0.3 or 0.4 of a position. Maybe not a full slightly position, but I'd favor them a little bit. I'd play white any day, let's just say. I wouldn't want to play black with this current position. But you're probably saying, hey, but isn't black really developed? Yeah, but does black have really any easy play? Not really. If we can somehow get a knight implanted on, let's play this, and let's say we can get a something like this, and we'll say the knight, we'll say we play something like this. If we can get something like this, that'd be such a wonderful position for our pieces. If we can get a nice position like this, our knight's totally in a stellar position, locked down. The queen doesn't have any in routes. The knight could come here and trade off, but I don't know if that'd be a great idea, because we would allow it to trade off for us, then we would take back, and then we would have so much play on the queen side. So until this rook is, till we get like a clog up here, you don't really want to go b5 because that weakens the pawn, and now this rook has a really hard time getting to b2, so very not fun for Hu. This is going to be a long game with not, it's going to be more of a static position, as Jeremy Silman would say, more static. Bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, knight e5, rook c8, c7, knight takes g6, f takes g6, and then queen c2. Now let's take stock on what we have here. Okay, there's really only another half open file. White's position is a solid rock. So it's going to be pretty hard for black to crack white's position. But black does have a knight in a semi-closed game. So we're looking at potentially equalness here, equality for a while, because this bishop really doesn't have any scope. It does have pawns and it could attack. So when there's pawns on both sides of the board, like this, and when there's pawns on both sides of the board, the bishop is a powerhouse piece. But somehow it's this it's this center that's closed that's causing a little bit of a headache for white. So Gada's going to have to figure out a way to basically explode the center and get it totally opened up. Otherwise, he's going to have a bishop that's a good bishop, but it's not really going to have a lot of influence on the board until the center has been cleared up a little bit, cleaned up, and at least one pawn disintegrated off the board, so the bishop has more scope. These two pawns right now of Hu's really keep white's bishop at bay. And so if I was Hu, I wouldn't want to trade my I wouldn't want to trade any of these pawns. I'd try to keep the pawns locked down if I could. Oh, so she exchanged off. Man, and now I'm not really liking her position at all. I mean, I just don't like it because I don't like black's position. That's what I mean. I think black had an advantage with the knights, but I can understand who didn't want to allow the bishop to get pressure on e6. So yeah, you have to kind of weigh the imbalance. Is it worth trading off your good knight for a semi-active bishop? Because at this moment, Hu's position, she does have one open file that she dominates. It's the half open C file. She potentially could dominate another half open F file, and I believe that's what she does, yeah. But there's really no in routes to the position. In theory, with proper play, it should end up a draw because there's no real points of weakness in either side. It would be pretty hard for Gada to try to get to implement a attack on Hu, because Hu would there would have to be doubled up rooks, and I really don't see a way that that could happen. It's really, he has this very solid position. Hu has a really solid position, so it's going to be a long, drawn out, as they say, guerrilla warfare battle. It's going to be who can take puck shots at each other and get away with it the most and cause a lot of they call that concessions. If whoever concedes more space and their position gets slightly worse over time will be the one to fall. So who could just basically just sit back and forth and go back, forth, back, forth. But see, who is 2730? So she really wouldn't want to draw Gata, who is 2,666. So she's going to try to push for a win. But I don't know. Gata has a much better pawn structure, pawn chains, islands. Who has three? One, two. I mean, one, two, three. Gata has only two. It's got this and this. This is one pawn island, and then this is one pawn island. So in theory, it's a lot easier for Gata to hold the position. His chain isn't going to really be hurt, and there's really no way for Hu to make any progress. So it's not fun to do it, but sometimes the best result is a draw in this situation. But Hu's a really hard fighter, so she's not going to just go for a draw. She wants to go for a win. So especially when she has a pretty big grip on the center. She has two pawns in the center. But it's going to be hard, really hard for both sides to get really any play. Because this pawn on e6 is a backward pawn, but it can be covered 4 times, and it can only be attacked 3 times. It can even be defended 3 times and attacked 3 times, so Gata's going to have a lot of work ahead of him to say that he has any advantage here. King g8, queen b3, rook f2. Now the both positions are solid. This is solid. This is solid. That's solid. There's really nothing that I see that could be played. He could try this, but what does that do? Not much. So he's trying to see if he can't get any. See, he's willing to go for a draw if Hu is willing to repeat. So at this point, Gata's like draw, and Hu's like no. And I'm sure now that she regrets not taking the draw, because this was a long, drawn-out battle. And in the end, the sad thing is the London system ends up being victorious. It doesn't matter who it faces. With proper play, the London system is victorious. It's like a rock-solid opening. And they're just maneuvering around. Just maneuvering. Nothing big. I'm sure Gatakamsky's scratching his head thinking, why are we playing any longer? There's really no way for us to make any progress. This is silly, basically. A silly position. We should just agree to a draw and go home and play another game. So now Gata's trying for some advantage here. I would almost say now that the queens came off the board, I favor white. I know that sounds weird. But the more pieces that come off the board, the better it actually is for white. Because white has a better, like we talked about, endgame play. The pawn chain is a lot. White only has two pawn islands, and black has 3. So this is going to favor Hu. And now that the queens are off the board, Gata can now get his attack flowing. So now Gata's like smiling from ear to ear, no doubt about it. Now when the queens came off the board, he's like, yeah, hurrah, Hu, or hooyah, yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be smiling from ear to ear too, because now, because I have a better active pieces, and my rook is like stellar on e5 now. I can now start hacking at the center, and my king's more centralized. What more can you ask for in an endgame when you have a beautiful rook? You can come over and double, and now you're hammering the center, and this rook's pinning this king. Wow, this is stellar, stellar, stellar. Takes, takes. Now, gotta be careful. He can't really do anything. He could do something there, but I don't know if that's a wise idea. I don't know if I would trade off there. Yeah, that's smart to kind of go after this weak point here. That was a kind of a sneaky idea. If he tried something like, we'll say, some move like this, you potentially, no, I guess you couldn't take, could you? You couldn't take here because of that. I was thinking that there'd be a way that you can take to cause a problem, but this rook actually does a really good job in the center. And now there's oh, not good, not good at all. Now I totally favor white here. Oh man, white's like black is so passive. White is so active. This is not gonna be fun. In theory, this could potentially be playable here, and who could try to maybe get a passed pawn, but I think we could just grab there. So I really favor Gata here. When the queens and all that was on the board, I would have said draw, 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 but not anymore. You just be careful. If the position calls for a draw and you can't make any progress, don't force it. This is the best example, I guess, for this game that we can take away from it, is even if you're the higher level player and the position and your opponent, maybe a lower level player, but they play a really good game and the best result is a draw. Sometimes that's what you have to be okay with. It's not, Fabi sometimes, like in one of the Grand Tour ones of St. Louis, the one that he was able to get to London, the final one against Nakamura, Levon, and MVL. He was facing, I think it was Wesley So. It was Wesley So the last round, and they asked why wasn't Fabi pushing. Fabi was black, and Maurice said this. He said that the reason Fabi can't push is Fabi's only given what Fabi's given. What that means, what I'm trying to say is, you can't if you're not given a attacking position or a sharp position in chess, you can't push to a sharp position. You'll end up imploding your own position. And sometimes grandmasters will draw lower players, maybe even 22 or 2300 level players that are 27 or 2800, because the position calls for a draw. It's not that they want, trust me. In some of the rapid games and blitz games that Magnus played in the World Championship, some of the people who drew were like 22, 2300 on 2400 level players. He probably didn't want to draw them, but the position was what called for it. And so we'll continue onward. Enough talking, but yeah, I'm just trying to give you what my teacher taught me, is that you can't force a position. And I always remember when they tried to get as much sugar out of a beet as you can, And a sugar beet only has a certain amount of sugar. You can make it as sugary as you can, but you can't get 100% of the sugar. You can't get 100% sugar out of a beet. So it's kind of like that. You can, and you can't change that it's a beet. You can't make a sugar beet a potato, a corn, or a cucumber, or something like that. It's a sugar beet. So same position. If you do the Petrov, which is what Fabi does, and they play the main line against the Petrov, which is Wesley didn't. But if you did, you're going to end up more towards a drawn position because both sides play perfect. And with perfect play ends up equality, and with equality is a draw. So, but it's in certain levels. That's usually on Super Grandmaster level. Sometimes in the reserves that you might be in, maybe 1400, 1600, 1800, or 2000, you could push it a little bit. But just make sure that you don't push it so far that you lose, because that would be horrible. Now this is a weakness. Oh, and Lucinda. Now if he can get around here, he gets it. That is true. That's funny. Yeah, I just use some of the plant terms that I always think of. Yeah, and this is actually now losing for black here, because if black tries here, the king now can come out, and there's no way to save the position. Like back here, black should try. I don't know what black actually could do here. Maybe put some pressure. This would be, hey, how you doing? This is just a tough position at this point. I'm almost thinking it's totally, yeah, two. You'd have to keep your rook. The only way to hold would be to keep the rook here. I remember looking at a position like this from Jeremy Silman. It's going to be a little bit difficult because black has some advantage of this, so Gata would still, he wouldn't lose the game. It'd be more of a draw. But if white ever can get a rook on this here, if white can get a rook here, white would win. And so right there, and I think we have a drawn position here. Maybe this potentially could happen with maybe with if takes there, then check and checkmate. So he can't take. So this causes that to happen. So I'm thinking that it's potentially just a plain old draw here. Yeah. This would end up being a no, I'm okay. I appreciate the offer, but we're just going over a game that we're going to do some tactics. But what we're going to do here is that, yeah, I think she could have pulled a draw, but that was just me. I think Hoop played a little too with this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She played a little too passive. She should have got her king involved and tried to lock the king out. And then maybe at the right moment when the king's here, potentially get a rook and try to infiltrate via that way. Via into h8. But sometimes if you play too passive and you're fighting for a draw, you'll miss the most winning moves. All right, let's do it. Whew. Okay, let's make sure we get this right. Let's make sure we do this thing. Okay, let's take a look here. This is more of a puzzle. So we need to see if there's a way to checkmate the king, or potentially cause some damage to the position. Like I'm looking at b4 check. If king a4, trying to find out do if there was only a way to get a knight here, somehow have the queen take here and then get a knight to b7, we'd be winning. If there's only a way to do that. Do you have any ideas? Boy, it'd be nice if somehow we can get a knight here too. Either a knight here. Interesting. I think we could potentially be able to do that. Let's see, if we play knight to c1 and queen takes c5, b4 check. If king takes c4, knight d3, knight d3, check, and we win. Interesting. So knight c1. Trying to see if we can't make an attack out of thin air, I guess. Because what if he just, you have to figure this, what if he doesn't take the queen? So let's say knight c1. We'll say that he plays queen. We'll say f8. We also have a potential, rather than c1, we could go knight to e5, knight e5. And then we could play f queen f8. We can go knight to e4, e4, or c4, sorry, c4, check, king b5. And if he goes b5, then we have knight d6, which forks again. Yeah, I'm going to do that. There we go. So knight to b4. And we know what his threat is. Knight c2, forking our two rooks. Snap, crackle, and pop. I would love to try to do a discovery like bishop takes e6 and then grab the knight on b4, but I really don't see how we can, let me see here. Interesting, to say the least. Is there any sacrifices that we can take a look at? What is the drawback to that move? Let's see here. Oh, I think I have an idea. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, but I also have wanted to throw this idea. Yeah, I wanted to throw this idea out for you to take a look at. Knight g5, knight g5. If bishop takes g5, knight d6, check. And if king f8, then we have, oops, king f8. Sorry, that's not mate. There's a, hold on. I just got to add another takes there. Queen takes f7 mate. That's what I mean. Because we don't want to give up our checking ability yet. If we go knight g5, if bishop takes, we take. He can't take. When he moves, then we mate. Yeah. I'm thinking that that's, and we're also again, if he doesn't take, bishop takes, we're threatening mate. Rook can't, would have to come over, and if pawn comes here, if we come here and then pawn push, we always have pawn takes, and then we can take. Our bishop takes, and then we still have the checking. We still have a checking idea with our knight move. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is right. Okay, if we do in passing, so e takes f6, bishop takes f6, knight knight d6, check, check. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this. So rook takes on that one. And first comes to mind is knight e7 check. That's what comes to my thoughts, is that and then I can actually pick up the rook. So knight e7 check, king f8, then knight h7 check, and we pick up the rook. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. That's funny. I am eating you. That's somebody had a little too good of a time. Wow, that's 10 years old. I think they might have been hungry. They're thinking of a pizza. That's cute. Okay. Okay, knight f6 check. That protects the rook and checks the king. King d6 and then rook e6 is mate, I believe. Let me see. Check, king e6, rook e6. Yeah, that's checkmate. Okay, let's see here. I don't really see any other idea. Let's see. Queen takes d5. E takes d5. Rook takes e1 check. King comes up. I really don't see any other move besides that. Let's see if queen h4. Queen h4. If rook fe1, then we can go queen h. Actually, we could go rook takes f2 with queen takes f2. Then we can, no, that wouldn't work. Oh, yeah, that does what is I just have a question. What is queen h? Is queen h2? So queen h, I mean h6 is, it attacks the c6 bishop, right? It attack the c6 bishop. I should put an S there. Attacks and threatens mate, right? And threatens mate at the same time. So it attacks the bishop on c6 and threatens mate at the same time. Huh. So it threatens mate and defends the rook. That is true. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because queen h4, we lose the rook, and yeah, I see what you're saying. So queen h2, check. Okay. Yeah, the only way to win the king, I mean the queen, is to go rook. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh. What in the world? Wow. Sorry about that. I must have forgot to click the box. One second. Okay, back. Sorry. Had to check something out and make sure that it didn't do anything to our score or anything. Sometimes what happens is when I'm going to type in, I forget to click the box, and I type my keyboard, and for some reason it has some commands that make it either log out or do stuff, and I forget about that. Sorry about that. We actually had the right idea. It was queen to h2, king f1, and then rook takes f2, queen takes f2, and knight takes f2, king takes f2, and we would have been up queen for a rook and a knight. So we had the right move. I was going to write it down, but I'm tells you that I'm so glad the Lord is the Lord, and because we make a lot of mistakes. Okay. Queen takes a2 check. Let's see. Queen takes a2 check. If king d3, then bishop b5 check would cause him to play rook to c4, rook c4, and then we would win an exchange. Actually, we're down material, so we would want to go for the mate. Basically, we could potentially, after rook c4, play queen takes b, queen takes b3 check, and then the king would the rook would lose its defending pawn. Then we would check with the queen again, and we'd be able to win. Okay, now we have to look at queen takes a2. Let's take a look at retreating back to see what would happen. King, we'll say d1. King d1. Queen, Queen A1 check, king D2. But oh, wait a second here. Let's talk her down here. If you guys have any ideas, be more than happy to put them in. We potentially have knight e5. Knight e5. If queen f6. Queen to d7. Knight g5. Knight g5. He could actually play knight takes g5, and then he's protecting the queen. Oh, I get what you're saying. Oh, I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Oh, nice. No, I think you might. Let me see here. Let's see, we're attacking there. Yeah, that actually is a good move. Yeah, great job. Let's see, G, and if knight takes G5, we can actually check, and we're good to go. He can't, there's no, well, no, he can intercept. No, he, well, no, I think that might not, let me see here. Let's try this. I think I might be wrong on this one. Queen d8 check, queen g8, and then knight takes g5. But then we only oops, not knight, sorry, queen takes g5. I don't know where I got knight takes g5. Copy, paste. See, knight e6. That attacks the queen. Oh, knight e5. Sorry, attacks the queen. So knight e5. Knight e5. Then queen f6. Queen d7. If queen takes e5, then we check. There's no way to stop. He'll lose everything. Knight e5, queen g8. Then we have queen d7. See, the queen is the target. We can't trade any of our knights off or anything because the queen can guard. Yeah, I'm liking knight. Oh. No, not there. But I have a question on that. I don't understand. Why can't he just take? Oh, if he takes, he loses the drat. If he takes, he loses the queen. Oh, snap. That was so in your face right there. That was a gimme. Okay. Well, there's a checkmating idea here. Queen d7, check. Knight takes knight takes d7, and then knight e6 mate. There we go. Boy, I'm trying to figure out, looking at all avenues of infiltration with our queen, with our rook. I'm looking for sacrifices. Do you see anything, guys? Let's see something. Let's take a look here. Okay, if queen h8 check, king g5, rook takes h5 check, g takes h5. G takes h5. H4 check, king g6. Queen h4, queen h8, king g5, rook takes h5, g takes h5, h4, king g6. Let's see. Queen f8. King g5, rook takes h. But I have a question though. If queen f8 check, what do you think he'll do if he goes king h7? What would you do? What would happen if he went king h7? You have it? Hey Fox, how you doing? I know. I was thinking that's the thing I have to think about is what would you have to always think of, because we're now going into like 2500 level puzzles, and they're going to throw a kink in the works. They'll throw, what would happen if you played this? You have to almost have three routes instead of a fork of the road. It's a trio in the road, and you have to. So write it in Vox if you got it, and we'll take a look. So Queen H8. If there. Yeah, I looked at that one too. So what to do after Queen H8? What do we do after that? Hey, Economy, how you doing? Boy, this one gives me a headache here. I'm like trying to look at. Um, that is an interesting idea. Oops. He does have though this Erie, just this move here. Um, Queen B6 check, and I think that's what does. Do you have an idea, Economy? Oh, so you have it. Cool. Wow. So what would be the first response that you would think for white? There's two checks. There's Queen H8 or Queen F8. Those are the only two queen moves. And I'm thinking we may potentially get we might have a draw. What do you think, Fox? Do you have one on? What do you think about the one with Queen F8? Have you taken a look at that? Queen H8. Okay, found it. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see, I'm looking here. See. Right. Yeah, that's what we're figuring. Economy is. Okay, Rook. Okay, so Queen H8, King G5, Rook takes, G takes, Queen. Let's see here. Okay, let me see if I. Okay. So let's see, King G5, Rook takes. Nice job. Nice work, Economy. Nice work, Fox. Nice work, Erie. Great job. Great job, all. Nice work. Go team. Ah, not fun. The queen's trying to. White's playing reactive chess, trying to trade off because he's up a whole rook right now. So, but we have we have our opponent, so we need to now take scope to see if we can't take advantage of any of his ideas here. Let me see here. Let's first take a look at check. So like bishop a6 check is the most forcing line. So we know he can't. We know the king can't go to e1 because if the king went to e1, we can then take his rook with check. So the king really only has one move after bishop to a6 check. The king would go to f2 by forced. King f2 by forced. Otherwise, the rook would fall. So we know that for a fact. So you have to do like what Economy and Fox and they're saying is, what? Queen takes. Wait a second. Hold on, let me see. Queen takes, G takes. We'll take a look at that real quick. But let's see here after this. Bishop takes d4 check. Then he has bishop e3. We're just going to take a look at this really fast. Bishop e3. Ooh, I think we could pick up after trading queens, I think we win a rook. I'm thinking we win a rook here. So we can actually play queen takes h3, g takes h3, and then bishop takes b2, and that picks up a piece, I believe. Queen e6, king there, bishop takes there. Yeah, because this is the most forcing sequence here. Then what you do is you take, and the bishop has to intercept. When the bishop intercepts on e3 after we take here, we trade the queen. We trade the queens off. And after the queens are traded, well, I guess we don't have to trade the queens off. Well, hold on. But do you notice, though, Ice, how strong our how many pawns though we have? We actually have more pawns than our opponent. So in theory, if we can win the rook and a pawn, we're up like 3 pawns, and that in an endgame is enough to win. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you have to always be there on guard, ready at any moment. Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, but I think Fox, I think you're right on this one here. I agree. Yeah, we don't win a rook. I think let me see here. So queen f4 check. Let's just throw in recalculation because yeah, you always got enough times to lose points. But let's see if we win something. Yeah, we don't win a rook. That's right. See, that's why you have to. Don't always go with your first thing. If you get the first maybe 2 moves right, but it doesn't look like your line works out, don't go for that line. Recalculate a new line, because that's what these tactics are for, is to teach you to be more persistent on stuff. Let me see. Yeah, and then queen f3. Bishop takes e3, check. King e1. Queen takes f3. G takes f3. And then bishop takes g1. And then we are up material. Oh, snap. He just gave away, he gave it all away. Snap, crackle, and pop. Wow. Now we're threatening to checkmate. So more likely in this line, we're going to want to play bishop takes d3. And he can't play, he could play rook over to f1, but if he does that, we play queen takes and it's mate. So he can't even, he could try to play queen f3, but we're still going to win a piece in that line. Yeah, I think we keep the queens on the board too. Yeah, because even if we go here and he tries to do something with his knights, it's still going to end up with us picking up a rook. Yeah, we keep queens on the board. Yeah, that was a pretty fun one. That was a fun one. You have to be careful that you don't get over excited about your moves. Though you gotta, if it doesn't work out, stop, recalculate, and find a new one. You got plenty of time to earn the points back. You got plenty of time to earn the points back, but to throw maybe a couple 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 minutes in to get it right, you're 1 pawn better to the good. So always think of it that way, and it'll never fail you. You'll always be patient and ready to go. We are doing good. The Lord is really helping us out. We gotta though keep pushing forward, working together as a team, and we can do this thing. Yes, we can. Oh, okay. We'll finish this one here, play the grub, then we'll go over the game. Yeah, it's fine. You know, as long as we're improving, that's what matters. Hey, yeah, I gotta say, you all helped me with slowing down. I used to move really fast. I used to get really like, I got the move, I'm gonna go with it. But through patience, and we're doing good. Let's see. Let's see. Rook takes e. So rook takes e 7. Hmm. So what you're saying is rook takes e7 check if rook takes e7. Who? Are we actually down material here? Which rook would take though? Let's say the C rook C. Oops. C takes e7. Knight. Hold on. Knight. Oh, I don't know if we actually win anything in this line. I have another line I wanted to propose to throw for you guys, throw at you. What if we played rook f6? Rook f6 check. What if we played rook f6 check? What about rook f6 check if bishop takes f6? Sorry, bishop takes f6. Queen takes e8 check. Yeah, I'm looking. You guys, we have to look because the other lines we actually are down a whole. We're down an exchange in the other lines. We only have a knight for a rook because he's going to take with his other rook. Then after we take, we'll try to exchange, and he'll have a rook, and we'll have a knight. So rook f6, bishop takes f6, knight check. And if the king moves to like a light square or something, we always have a check with our rook or our queen. We can actually check with the queen too. And maybe we could pick up some material. I don't know. I'm thinking. So rook f6, bishop takes f6, king there. Wherever the I think we're equal in that line. Let's see. Rook takes, knight. Yeah. Let's see. So let's economy. 1 second. Yeah, I need to relook. Yep. Just take your time. You know what? There's plenty of time. That's one thing I've learned is there's plenty of time to get the points back, but to get it right, if this is a 2600 level puzzle, would really skyrocket us to 2300. Okay, so let's see what economy said here. Okay, rook f6, bishop takes, knight. Then when the king goes to either e8 or f5, or you mean f6, we can check and then pick up the yeah. Hold on, let me see. Do we have any other winning lines? I'm just going to grab the queen. Yep, there's the 2600 level puzzle. See, yeah, you can't. The reason I'll show you what happens. We're actually down a. Yeah, we'll do your game just once. We will, I promise. I wanted to go over this though. I wanted to show what would happen is if this was played. We really don't have any good check opportunities. If he comes, let's say here. Oops. Let's see. He goes f8. If we try this here, this is what would arise here, and we would be down an exchange, actually an exchange and a pawn. The reason that this move works here is that if the queen would take, then knight takes and we're winning. If the bishop takes, then we check and let's say he goes king, not g there, let's say he comes here, we still have queen takes, and then if he comes up, we grab the queen. And if then let's say he goes over here, we can then take and we have a check, and then now we can pick up a rook. So you have to not be afraid to sacrifice material. So, good job, good work. Yeah, nice work. And let's see here. Come on, pull up for me. Okay, so you're white. So C4. Well, I tell you, we're working out good. We are thinking really good, aren't we, guys? We are thinking like a double exclam. We're getting a double exclam mind of brilliance. Or would that be a triple? Okay, nice. So far so good. You're trying to reload the position. You're trying to get a huge pawn center with e4. This is the idea, and you're wanting to cramp your opponent. Am I right? Play the grub. That's kind of the idea. You want to cramp the opponent. Yeah. You want to dull. Yeah. Yeah, it's a Shamish. And the idea is for a really strong pawn structure, and you're basically doing what Jeremy Silman said is if you can hold your pawn center, your opponent's saying in an English system like this that your pawn center is nothing, that you're just teasing him with a pawn center, or teasing them with a pawn center, that your pawn center is weak, and at any moment they can get rid of your pawn center like that, snap, like a snap, and it's all over. But if we're saying to our opponent, black, you can try to destroy our pawn center, but we're going to hold it with all of our might, and if you can't destroy it, then we're going to squeeze and strangle the basically every breath out of the position, and we'll be the one with all the air, and you'll just have to resign eventually because you won't have any where to move. That's kind of our thing. Black's saying, I'm going to destroy your center, and you're saying, yeah, right, bring it on. I'm going to beat you before you can do that. I'm going to checkmate the king before you can do that. That's kind of, those are the ideas of that you have to look at. Like, each move says something. Like, this bishop move is saying to white, I'm going to castle, and I now have control over the center, crossing centers like this. And you can get in a free attack if you want, but that's not even gonna, that just tickles. It doesn't really do anything to me. That's what they're trying to say. Are you just trying to tickle me with that's what Yazzer says. I always think that's kind of funny. I laugh at it. He goes, he's tickling his opponent, and so that's kind of like he'll just move here and then castle, and then at the right moment potentially he can come back after the bishop moves. You know, there's a lot of different play. I'm pretty shocked your opponent. I understand this move is very vital though. D6 is vital because what I'm wondering if should you have actually played I think you could have won a piece, play the grub. If you had played e5 here, I believe you might have been able to win a piece, or at least stopped castling, because he wouldn't have been able to go to h5 here because of G4. So you could have stopped castling with. The computer says something else. I'm liking this. This is actually a better move than the computer move. The move that we're doing is actually a better move. The computer's move only gives you a 0.6 advantage with this move here. This move gives you a 0.12. Yeah, because what happens is then he comes back here, and now if you wanted to, you can potentially get F4 going on an expansion. This is holding, and if you wanted to, you're kind of a little bit squeezed. I mean, kind of a little bit without development, but not too bad if he plays there. You can then just take, and he can't take back, so he can't do that. He might try to free up his bishop, his knight via like e6. But we actually have a potential knight f3, and or maybe we can first play d5, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, and if knight here, then we actually have a potential cramping idea of d there, and takes here, and maybe something like that. And then let's see, can we actually check? Well, then he would have to move his king. Maybe we were too intense with our pawn. We might have overextended just slightly, a little too much. Because I like our pawn center. Maybe bishop c4 is best in this line, just to hold. And then if he tries something like that, then we can just develop our knight. If he takes, we now have 3 pieces defending it. And now we have a good center, and if our opponent castles, we can castle. And I'm liking our center here. And we have a lot of space. We have the hanging pawns though, so we're gonna have to really go for this. And you always have to be on the lookout for moves like there. Now you've entered a closed game, so it's more of a static play now. Yeah, because I sometimes get a little too aggressive, but I'm learning how to play positionally. Positionally will win the game. If you're facing a lower, if you're facing a player, let's say you're 2,000 or 2,200, and you're facing a 16 or 1,700 level player, it was Grandmaster Simon Williams said this. He doesn't push the situation with those players. What he'll do is he'll just make solid moves, and for some reason he doesn't understand why. He used to do it though. They would just go berserk. They would go, see, berserking's not bad. It's just berserking wrong is bad, and that's what they do. They think that because you're playing solid moves and you're not pushing and you're defending and you're holding your center, that you're weak. And so they'll just like lash out on the king side without any reason or rhyme for doing that. And then you can then take advantage of that and basically win in that line. So sometimes in a quiet position, if you're the higher level player, just be solid, and they can't help it. They'll want to crush you for some reason. I've had that happen so many times and won many a games that way. They just, I don't know what's with it, but they just want to smash you. They haven't learned the patience of take your time, look at the position, and don't only berserk when need be at the right moment. Okay, perfect. I always liked it. I remember what my mom and my grandfather and my dad said, and my brother. They said that you have to live to fight another day, and sometimes a lot of the younger players that get like 1400, 15, 1600s, they don't live to fight another day. They try to all guns blazing, but unless you have the right attack, it's gonna fizzle out and you'll lose. We've all gone through that phase though in our life of chess. So we're not like any we're not they're not like any you know what I mean. We've all gone through that. I'll just say that. The word escaped me there for a second, so I'll say we all have gone through that. It's a maturity stage that a chess player has to go through. So knight b3, knight b3 or knight d3. Hold on, let me see here. If white plays on the queen side or waits, if black shifts an attack to the king side and it goes on. Oh, you're talking to Fox. Okay. Now you're talking to me. Yeah, h5. So what if you notice, what's going to happen is um, black doesn't have to castle because the position's closed, and black's going to try to somehow squeeze the position. He doesn't. In some lines, I've seen where players have actually played f6 here, and let's see what would be the best move for us at this moment. I think we win a piece in that. Let's see. Yeah, we win a piece here. So the knight has to retreat. That makes sense why he moved now. That was actually a forced move, because if he played something like, we'll say, castles, you actually have this move right here, and this is a double attack. If he takes here, you can actually, in theory, take back there. If pawn takes, then takes, and you have the bishops of opposite color, and if he plays here, you somewhat have an attack. Nice. I still like this move though. I still like f4. I know. And then takes. And now we have a really powerful stranglehold in the center. I still liked f4 even in that line. See, with your stranglehold in the center, you're actually really good here. You can't, whatever you do, you can't in positions like this, you have to not fast, but you have to think what would be good. Oh, so you're thinking he takes with the H knight? Okay. True. You have to always be on guard for that. Let's see here. So there. Now his knight's totally out of play. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. And then now we shut everything. But we do surrender this point. I don't think I want to surrender that point. Not yet. Yeah, this knight's a pain in the neck, but it's still out of play at this moment, so he's playing down a piece. This is actually really good for us, though. So if we can organize our pieces properly, we can go for an attack like rook over here. Potentially, we can move our queen here, bishop here, and try to get a attack with e5. That'd be good. That'd be nice. So b3. I gotta ask a question. Why didn't you... Oh, okay. He takes here. Oh, I see why. You have to kind of guard there. I think in this position, you're so much better to have played g3. How come after move 21, how come on move 21 you didn't play g3? Was it because of this check here? And then he has to play there. Now that this bishop really has no attack at all, I would play my rook to potentially maybe e1, and I don't know. So I would have some sort of an attack going. Maybe just straight up rook f1. Maybe we get our knight involved, and we see if we can't. Interesting, to say the least. Ooh, okay. I think this is much better now. Much better for black here still. And I'm liking this here. He'll probably have to play something like that, because if he takes here, you can come smashing in actually right here and pick up a piece. So you'd have to play there. And we got to be careful. We don't want to give his knight a spot back. So maybe something like that. Not sure. Still thinking, but okay. So now he's got this under control. See, one thing you have to work on that all players have to work on. It's called something Jeremy calls it reactive chess, and it happens to us all. We get really worried about what our opponent's going to do at this moment, and see, your position is actually rock solid. If there was a way somehow we can I think I might have traded here. I think trading, even if when knight takes, I'm liking this idea here. I just think it's totally rock solid, and you're winning. Yeah. No, no, it's that. Hey, I gotta tell you, it's nothing. It's not. It happens to us all. So never feel bad about that, because we all need to improve. Even super grandmasters, when they lose a game, they go back and learn and improve, and then they find better lines. Ooh, see, you're still fine. I think you're fine here, even when one pawn down. Your position is still solid enough to hold. Oh, yeah. Don't like the skewer. It's okay. You're still fine. You still have enough counter attacking potential. You actually never show fear. Always be fearless. Like something like knight comes in, maybe. Or see, what did you? Oh, not bad. Let's see if we can't play a5 here. This might be an interesting idea. A5 might give you some life on the so that if like takes, you can bring your queen in, and then you have something like that, and maybe check, and then bishop here. If rook takes, bishop takes. Now you're back to equality. See, I think at this moment a5 might have. I'm not sure what could he actually have done. Maybe rook c1, then after takes. We might have been able to hold. Let's see, takes. Yeah. Huh. We may have this here. Knight there with takes. Oops, wrong. Sorry. There. Kazam! There you go. Wahoo! Yay! Now we're winning. So you never give up. Always play for the best that you could do. Like taking here, he might try there, and then if something like this, if he takes there, then you have check, and then if knight takes, now you're winning. Like here, there, and then you can pick up the. I think you're winning here. See, you see how You see how you could actually save the game? Just don't ever give up. Whatever you do, don't ever feel like you're lost. Okay, so do you have any questions on the move before I log? Play the grub. Do you guys do you have any questions where you want to go over? B3. B3. What move? What move was that? Oh, on move 1. Are you talking about B6, B3? What move would you play on B3? B6. Well, there's a couple moves you can play. You can actually play a London. You can play a kind of London setup with this, because now that he played B6, you now have, let's say, play something like this here. You now can actually go for more of a London setup. And then if he plays here, you have a London setup, and now you're actually better. You have better development. Your pawn structure is solid. Your bishop's outside the pawn chain. So in this line, I'd probably go more towards a London. But it's English. It's English. See, it's the London system. I mean, I would go more towards a London system setup with this like this. And my bishops and knights here, and then maybe by hope, if my opponent allots me, like with knight, something like this, I can play bishop here, and this locks down some position, and then if he tries to fianchetto his bishop, I can play knight bd2, bishop here, and then just castles and these castles, and now you're in a solid position where it can be all three. All three options are open. You can win, your opponent can win. You know, there's a lot of play still left in the game. More likely you'd want to break in the center at this point with e4 and then push onward, because if he takes here, you have now an open C file, and you'll be the first one to dominate the open C file. So I'd probably play bishop f2. Yeah. So is that the only question you have? Not a problem. Okay, I wanted to thank you all for logging on. We're doing good. We broke 2,300 today. Congratulations. We're onward and upward. And we're not going to stop. We're only going towards greatness. And you know what? If you find yourself reacting in like a chess game and you lose, what you need to do is what Jeremy Stillman talked about. I use his books as kind of like a chess lesson setup. I read The Whole Amateur's Mind. He says you need to take a game back, and then you find out where you lost. You find out what were you thinking at that time, and then you say, how can I fix that? And if you have, like, maybe you're like, sometimes you might not want to look at your losses, and the hardest thing to do is to look at your losses. That's where I've actually improved the most, is by looking at my losses and finding out where I went awry, and learned from my mistakes, and it's made me a better player. But I had to put aside my ego and my pride. It's not fun to go back and remember that, yeah, I'm going to play this move, and then you realize, oh no, it's you get forked, or you get skewered, or you lose a queen, or you do that, or you're defending when you should be attacking. But what you have to do at the point where you know that you started reacting, you have to say to yourself, what was I thinking and what caused me to do that? Was there something out here? Was there something outside of me that was causing me to do that? Do I need to learn how to focus down more? Do I have to bring earplugs into the game so that I can put earplugs in? Because if noise is bothering me, I want to play it to the best of my ability, so I'll just put earplugs in, and then I can think. Or is it that I'm lacking tactics, and they have some really good sites for tactics now that you can learn, or you can get a book on tactics. Either one, if you're a book or a computer, you want to do those, you can do that. Or if you're positional, then and you need help with your positional play, you go to like Karpov and some of those players, and you start looking at how did they play positional games. And if you have an opening that you're interested in, you take that and you plug it into players who are known for that opening. Like Gadakovsky, we've been going over Gadakovsky games. He wasn't the originator of the London system, but he's popularized the London system. So Gadakovsky would be somebody that you would want to look into, because he plays the London system pretty regular, on a regular basis as white. And if you're interested in the French defense, Simon Williams is a good person to do. E. Berger is a good person to go over their games, and there's a couple other good French players and Tev even plays the French too, so you can go over some of her games. She likes the French as black. So those are some ideas, but what we actually need to remember is that life is about treasuring your victories and learning from your losses. Remember that mistakes don't define you. It's how you handle and learn from the mistakes that define you. And like what Bruce Lee says, there are no limits, there are plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond it. And we have to take what we know and apply what we know to our chessboard. Because knowing is not enough, you need to apply. And you can be willing to make a change, but unless you do it, you'll always have that sitch that you're wondering, how can I fix? How do I fix that? And the main thing is, you know what? The Lord's given us a wonderful mind, and He's so great. All the things that He's given us, we need to use it to honor and glorify Him, and as well, we can teach others chess and keep pushing forward. That's the whole goal, is to also have fun. Remember, chess is about fun. There's points at which it's serious when you're at the board, but study should be fun. So never look at it as work, because it's fun. And whatever happens, remember, you can always learn from it. And what do? We hang up our coat, we hang up our hat, we sit down and study when most won't. We do, and that makes all the difference, my friends. It truly does. Just, take some time, sit down and study, focus down, and you'll improve. But you're like saying, Odo is going to say it again. Try to stay away from the 30-second games, the Hyper Blitz, the minute games, the 3-minute, the 5-minute, the 10-minute, 15-minute maybe, but try to spend more of your playing time studying if you can. Well, Great job. And we're going to leave this as Wesley So says through the Lord Jesus. As I say, God bless. And I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward, onward and upward, and doing good. So, do you know what? Always remember, keep studying. Chess is fun. And keep pushing forward. Great job. Go Team Chess Cruncher. Hoorah. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.